Hey, I'm Graham Hill. I'm here to talk about lifeedited.com. So I'm a web guy. I started a web firm in 1995 out in Seattle. I'm also a designer. I did the ceramic version of this iconic New York cup. And I'm also an environmentalist. I started treehugger.com in 2004, sold to Discovery in 2007. Today I want to talk to you about a challenge, an environmental challenge, a financial challenge, a happiness challenge. In the last 50, 60 years, we've essentially moved from a period of scarcity to one of abundance. 30s, 40s, Dust Bowl, the Depression, not a lot of food, nor a lot of money to go around. Then a big uptick in the 50s. After the war, we learned how to make lots of things. We learned how to sell them. We became a consumerist society. This is when the picture of an idyllic family with the right house, the right car, and the right possessions came about. We became about quantity. America became America the big. Big cars, big houses, big egos. And if you look at the Coke, it sort of illustrates it perfectly. We've gone from an average size back then of around 8 ounces to one now 20. So literally 2.5 times as big, so a lot bigger. Eerily enough, the exact same thing has happened with our space. So the average home size has gone from 1,000 square feet back in the 50s to 2,300 now, while our families have shrunk. So we have about 3 times the amount of space per person. That's not just a little bit more space, that's a lot more space. So you'd think with all this extra space, we'd have plenty of room for all of our stuff. Well, it turns out that most of us are familiar with this. We have one of these. In fact, so we have all this space, but we have so much stuff we need to store stuff off-site. So personal storage is literally a $22 billion industry. Massive. So where has that brought us? We've got a lot more space, we've got a lot more stuff. How are things looking now? Financially, a lot more debt. We've seen the mortgage crisis, so not doing so well on that front. We're also using about 4 times as much energy as we did back then. And with that, our emissions, our footprints have really grown. So we've got a lot more stuff, a lot more space, but financially problematic, environmentally problematic. Core question here should be, are we happier? Well, it turns out in the last half century or so, our happiness levels have actually flatlined, even though our incomes have risen. So that's not working. So lots of debt, big footprints, not any happier. Something doesn't seem to work there. I have a vision for a different world, and that is through editing, figuring out how to have less stuff and less space. I believe if we do that, it's a great way to save some money. It's a great way to live within our environmental means, so reduce our footprints. And almost more importantly, it'll give us a little less to deal with, this decomplexifying, simplifying. Give us a little more freedom, a little more ease, maybe even a little more time. So all that translates to a little more happiness. So maybe, done correctly, less can actually equal more. I believe that editing is good. You don't really want the 4-hour movie. You want the hour and a half. You want the good bits. You don't need the filler. So I started a company called Life Edited. And essentially what we're trying to do is find the ways, the tricks to enable smaller living, but that's really compelling. I started out with doing my own apartment. I put together a really demanding brief. So I wanted to room for a couple, work at home, sit down dinner for 10, space for guests to stay in a civil manner, and room for all my kite surf gear. So really demanding. Bought a crappy little place on Sullivan, just below Houston. Worked with Javoto.com to crowdsource the design. Raised 80 grand in prizes from some great sponsors, and we got 300 entries. The winners were these Romanian architecture students, and Catalin I work with till now. So let me walk you through the space. These are all computer renderings. So it's a tiny space, and we basically use multifunctional furniture, smart spatial design, and a moving wall to get a lot out of the space. This is the main space. Little stand-up desk, an adjustable seat. This is a view of the kitchen, so the other direction, and we have a little table called the Goliath by Resource Furniture tucked under the counter. Pull that out, and it expands. It goes from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10 people for a nice sit-down dinner in a 420 square foot apartment. Home theater, projection screen, and there's a moving wall. So this comes out, revealing a sort of wood-covered guest room, and some beds fold out of the wall, and curtains for privacy. The master is on this side at that point. The bed folds nicely out of the wall. Same idea, curtains there. Bathroom, you want to separate it into distinct functions such that you reduce the traffic. Also, living in a small space, you may want to make a private phone call, meditate, have a little time to yourself. And so what we did is we made the toilet room nicely encased in wood, and then we have a little thing that hides the toilet and makes a little private room for you. Here's inside people like that one. Here's always the toilet. Here's another view inside the guest bedroom, the bunks coming out, and then just a very simple kitchen with drawer fridges and the like. To finish off, I'm going to go through a couple of key principles of life editing. First of all, you need to streamline your steps. You have to clear the arteries of your life. So 16 genes. It's probably not that number. So that'll depend on who you are, and it may take a lot of soul searching, but that number is probably less. And basically, you want to apply that process to everything in your life. You also want to take advantage of digitization, because it's essentially magic. It makes stuff disappear. So books, you can move a lot of them or all of them to Kindle Reader or others. Spotify for music. Netflix for film and TV. And paperwork, you can use your scanner. We also want to start sharing. So sharing systems are the future. Sharing cars, Zipcar, bike share, even toys, your kids' toys. This is a system where you can swap out your toys every once in a while. Or fashion, rent the runway. You also want to go multifunctional, both in products and spaces. So if you can get 2 or more functions out of one space, that's smart. So in this case, you don't sleep while you eat. You don't eat while you sleep. And so this beautiful bed folds out from the wall while the dining room table collapses automatically underneath, a resource furniture piece. You also want to right-size your stuff. So we want things that are designed for how they're used the vast majority of the time, not designed for that tiny, rare occasion. So why have a 5 or 6 burner stove when you rarely use 3? So here's an example of a combination sink and toilet, very space efficient, and it's actually gray water for the toilet. We also want things that fold. So here's a beautiful decorative chair you hang on the wall, pull it off, it becomes a nice chair. Want things that stretch. Here's the table from the apartment, the Goliath, so it goes from tiny to huge. We want things that stack, things that nest, things that are really space efficient. Here's a Joseph and Joseph bowl set. And here is an amazing little chair video. So this is Life Edited. Basically, we're doing a bunch of media, so lifeedited.com, the site, and the newsletter. We've got about 3 apartments underway now. The first one will be done in about 6 weeks. And also talking to Tony Shea from Zappos out in Vegas about doing a large mixed-use residential building, so Life Edited on a very big scale, which is very exciting. And we're also going to be doing a bunch of small space enabling housewares, so product design. So that's what Life Edited is about. So editing, I believe, is the skill of this century, and that done right, less can truly be more. So please, if this appeals to you, join us. Send an email right now to getnewsletter@lifeedited.com. lifeedited.com.